maybe you could tell everyone a bit about your background, because you've had a very kind of impressive resume of years training with many wonderful teachers.
Yes, I'm quite old, so I have a long resume. Sure. So my undergraduate days back in the late 60s were spent at the University of California, where I was studying biology, planning to become an ecologist, a wildlife biologist, environmentalist. That was the one thing I could really deeply and thoroughly believe in. And I still do. But it was on that hitchhiking trip, not backpacking, but really hitchhiking around Europe during the summer of 1970, that I just found myself asking deeper questions. Because even back then, it was clear, population biologists like Paul Ehrlich and others, the Silent Spring, they were already recognizing the very detrimental ways that we as a human species are impacting the environment. And it turns out, even back in the 1960s, astute scientists were already aware that global climate change would be a problem that was human-made. And so I encountered Buddhism, but it was coming out of kind of a deeper set of questions. Simply put, I like to keep my responses fairly concise, is that why do we so often, we human species, collectively and individually, why do we so often act contrary to our own best interests? Because we've known about global climate change, we've known about the pollution, the violation of the environment with many types of contaminants. We've known about global climate change for a long, long time. And yet people, including my homeland America, we still vote into office, into positions of tremendous power, people who denies even a problem, which is, frankly, it's sheer idiocy. And I think people have a right to be idiots, you know, there's all kinds, but they shouldn't be in positions of power. But it's in a democratic country like the United States, like the UK and so forth, we are the people that put them into power. And we are the people who refuse to take the short-term sacrifices in order for the long-term benefits for ourselves, for future generations. Why don't we take full use of the marvelous and extensive scientific knowledge we have and the technological responses and remedies for the problems we are creating? Because we don't actually need more science or more technology to overcome and counteract all the damage we're doing. So people that believe, well, just give us more science and technology, I would say, well, I'm always happy for more science and technology, but we're not making use of what we already have. And why is that? And then we turn to Buddhism. We can turn anywhere we like, but that's where I found my interests were going. And we see these, you know, very clear explication of the root of mental suffering. And that is, one, it's ignorance and delusion. Ignorance of just not knowing what's going on, and delusion of getting it wrong. And then the attachment, the craving, the greed, the short-sighted self-centeredness of wanting short-term gain. And then the hostility, hatred, violence, and so forth when anything gets in our way. And I looked at that threefold, kind of the three poisons you're probably familiar with. And I thought, wow, that has far more explanatory power than Newton's 3 laws for, you know, mechanics, or for James Clerk Maxwell's 4 equations describing electromagnetism. Those are fantastic natural, you know, laws that were discovered by great brilliance and mathematical prowess. But in terms of understanding the roots of suffering and how we human beings perpetuate our own suffering and that of many other species on the planet, I've never found anything so brilliant with such tremendous explanatory power as all of the afflictions and all of the evil that we human beings, and I do very much include myself, all of the destruction we bring to the world can be explained. And that is, we don't know and we get it wrong. Craving, attachment, greed, clinging to things outside as if they'll finally give it the satisfaction we're looking for, and they never do. And then hostility, aggression, and so forth, whenever we get something we don't want, or prevent us from getting something we do want. And that works equally on an individual level, as well as national, international, business, politics, and everywhere. And I thought, wow, that's a deep, deep diagnosis. And of course, the Buddha was not just saying there's a problem and good luck, everybody, but then said, look, there's the problem. And what can we do about this? How can we remove and possibly completely eradicate these fundamental afflictions of the mind, or toxins of the mind, that give rise to all harmful and destructive behavior that human beings ever engage in, So it's a very powerful explanatory theory that, again, is not religion. It's not even philosophy. It's something simply logical. It's something that can be put to the test of experience. So that really hooked me. And I've been hooked for the last 50 years by now.
Yeah, I think that's a really important insight, that from the maybe Western perspective that's used to problem solving of symptoms, it may seem strange that understanding the nature of the mind is if you chase any particular problem down, you come back to the mind, you come back to, if you understand it, then you understand what's going on. And it totally makes sense as to why once you start on this path of exploring it and trying to master it, it totally makes sense as to why you would want to do that, right?